Hello and welcome to the Own Your Divine Light show. I am Yarra Atlantica Miller, also known as Janet Miller. And this show is an exploration of the secret truths that have been concealed from us. We are letting go of this old system that no longer works and has held us back from becoming the divine humans we are meant to be. Today, we have the amazing Mark Attwood, who I want to call the cosmic jester. Don't ask me why, but that's what I'm getting. Because Mark has this sense of laughter and joy in him that is just unmistakable. And I'm so blessed that he's here in this group for us today. And he's going to come share his divine truth and whatever he has meant to bring through today with us to achieve the divine human rising, because Mark has played a really big part in bringing in the divine human rising. Mark is a person of insatiable knowledge, and I'm so blessed that he's here. And so let me just tell you a little more about Mark, and welcome, Mark. So happy you're here.
Hello, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, Mark is the host of Mark Attwood Show, Adventures in the Cosmic Suit. He is a lifelong truther, spiritual seeker, poet, entrepreneur, author who spends most of his time raising his 5 kids and is searching for the answers to life mysteries. So Mark, I am, just so thrilled that you're here today. And, I've listened to you from the very beginning when the whole thing started with the whole COVID thing. I didn't know who you were. And then I saw you and I'm like, is he for real or is he isn't? To be honest, because
I keep asking myself the same question.
Because you were always so funny. And I'm like, is he serious? I don't know. Who is this guy? And then I started watching your show and it was incredible what you bring through on your show. I mean, you are, I can't help, the cosmic gesture came through for me. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to say it but you're real. But you know what the gesture was in the courts? He was actually the one bringing through the real truth. He was the one who brought the information through all the courts that was meant to be known. So, there's another name in the Native American that there's a name for you that you look like the fool, but you are so far from the fool. Not that you're a fool, you're not, but you play it so that it's sort of like a defense. And I just find that you are incredibly good at that. And I know you were an actor in your past. You've done many, many things. So anyway, so where do you want to start? What do you feel is the most important thing to talk about now as we're rising into our divinity? You see, that's the spiritual way of looking at it. We're shifting our consciousness. We're moving into higher ways of looking at ourselves. We're feeling it physically. We're feeling it mentally. We're feeling it everywhere. I'm doing Ian Welch's work, who I know you put through. You brought Ian through, and we're so grateful. I know I've got mine downstairs. I wish I had I have a little tiny one, and I'm like, okay, it still works. They say everything works. So where do you want to start? What do you want to tell people today? What do you feel is important for you to talk about with this divine human rising?
Well, the first thing I guess I want to say is that once you realize that you are an immortal spirit, you lose all sense of fear. And what we've lived through the last 3 years has been an incredibly fear-filled situation. And I know that that's God's plan. And I knew this immediately. Because I woke up, I started waking up 30 odd years ago. I know I spent, I've read so much, I've just been prepared for this time with all the jobs that I've done and all the experiences I've had. And it's, I call the last 3 years spiritual quarantine. Because during this time, we've all had to go inside and find our connection to God again, or the mountain of light inside us, as the Bible says. And, you've just got to pay attention to it, because I'm getting it now. I'm getting waves of light coming through me now after that grounding we just did. And as you were talking, it was just coming through. And I've been getting this feeling for quite a few years. In fact, I think it was 2017. I've been on a massive spiritual journey myself anyway, and I did all the normal stuff, the sound bowl healing, the meditations, the Reiki, the ayahuasca retreats, the peyote ceremonies, magic mush, everything. I did. And I always felt like I was a bit of an idiot because I never sort of fit in. And you know, a memory just came to mind. Then I remember driving down to Glastonbury in my Jaguar with my big watch, and I pulled into this muddy field, and I was really annoyed that the field was muddy. And I got out, and there was this teepee there, and I was supposed to go there for like 6 p.m. And I was like, I could just turn back. I don't need to be here. But something made me go there, and I got there, and everybody's wearing spiritual clothes, and they got feathers sticking out of them, and I just felt like everybody was looking down on me because I didn't look spiritual enough. And but these, you know, this was all part of the journey, and I literally got told by God to start a YouTube channel.
I love it.
And I felt a bit embarrassed. I didn't say that for quite a long time. But when your higher self or God is talking to you, you can't ignore him. You can't ignore it. And it was so strong. I was on a road trip with my son. We pulled into, and this is, I've just realized this. We pulled into this town in Ireland, in the west of Ireland, called Limerick, right? Which weirdly is where my nan was born. My grandmother. Yeah.
Did you know at the time?
I did it. Yeah. Well, yeah, I did, but I've just realized the significance of it only just now. How strange is that? Anyway, we were there, and I got my phone out and I gave it to my son, my eldest son. And I said, right, point this at me. He said, why? So I don't know. I'm just going to talk to camera. And I just spoke for 20 minutes. And if I go back to that video, it's quite funny because my voice is high pitched. And I'm like, because the energy in 2020 was, you know, I remember when COVID hit, I was giving a keynote speech at an event in Mauritius because I've got a business and marketing background, and
I know that.
And I did this speech in front of 600 barristers in Mauritius. And what was really funny about it is that I was coming out of a deep depression because I'd been suicidal for the previous 2 years because my marriage had broken down, and I was contemplating going, but God saved me basically.
Good.
And
we needed you, Mark.
And that's the thing. He said, "Yeah, you ain't done yet. You've got work to do." And I was like, my life's over. What work is there to do? I've got nothing left. I mean, I really hit rock bottom, but
that's what it takes sometimes.
I know now. When you're in the middle of it, you're in the middle of it.
No, you never know that then. No.
It was like Groundhog Day. It was horrible. And, you know, but I'm so grateful to be here. And yeah, so I got this message, you need to go on YouTube. I started talking. And then I tell you what actually sort of blew things up is that I started watching Charlie Ward and when he was doing his walks.
Yes, I did too. I did the same.
And I was like, hey, hang on, there's this English guy. He looks a bit of a geezer. And he's coming out of all this positive stuff. And I resonated with it because I'm an apocalyptimist. Yes,
I love that word that you say it so easily.
Well, I knew this time was coming from the day that I was born. And I had this constant nagging feeling. I'm here to do, you know, and I achieved loads of things. I
you have a huge resume, Mark. Honestly, if I could read it out to people, they'd be blown away by what you have achieved. And you're always successful, Mark.
Success is easy
for you.
No, but, well, you know, well, saying that, there might be some people watching saying, well, he gave up on stand-up comedy and he didn't get that far.
But it wasn't your path.
Well, no, this is the point. Everything I did for a bit until I got out of it what I needed, and then I moved on to something else.
So smart.
You know?
What's wrong with that?
It wasn't on purpose. It's just the way I was being guided. But
exactly.
You know,
and you were listening, and you were listening, Mark.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of fearless. You know, I was
definitely.
Well, saying that, then I had a flashback to my first parachute jump, and I wasn't fearless then. I was shitting myself.
Well, nobody would be. And believe me. But you did it.
I fell out of the plane. I didn't.
Oh, no.
I literally fell out of the plane, yeah.
But are you okay? Did you make it to the ground with the chute?
Yeah, I did, yeah. But it was
funny. Here, nothing's broken. You don't talk about anything broken.
I don't want to do those 10 seconds. I don't want to do again. I relived them again and again. Where was I? So
you're talking about Limerick and your
no. So I started watching Charlie, and then I thought I'd have a look him up, and I saw the Facebook page was just blowing up with people. But there were a lot of people on there saying how terrified they were and what's going on. Sure. And then one night I just wrote this whole essay. It was a big long essay saying, listen, guys, I know you're scared. And this is what I understand, because I knew about the New World Order. I knew about the satanic ritual abuse. I knew about all of this stuff. And I've been through all these spiritual experiences, but I knew it was going to be okay.
Yeah.
So I just wrote this really, I can't remember what I wrote, but I wrote this really long thing, and it got like, it went viral. It just got 20,000, 30,000 views or something overnight. And this was noticed by the guy that was helping Charlie with his marketing of his channel. And then he got in touch with me and said, "You've got to come on the show with Charlie." And at the time, I think Charlie had about 10,000 YouTube subscribers.
Yeah, I was one of them.
Yeah, and I kept getting it kept getting delayed and pushed back. And I was like, okay, that's fine. But that, again, that was on purpose, because by the time I went on, he had about 80,000 subscribers.
Wow. You needed to have a bigger audience, Mark.
Yeah, so I went on the show and I was like, what am I going to talk about? I didn't know what I was going to talk about at all. And I ended up, there was a couple of weird synchronicities with that. Well, life is full of amazing synchronicities. Not weird, they're amazing. You know, when people, I still find myself saying that's weird. No, it isn't weird. It's the way it goes. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
and it's beautiful. It's brilliant. Yeah, but there are a few synchronicities. Like, for example, he was in the Plymouth Brethren, which is a religious cult in the east of England.
Who was? Was that Charlie? Oh yeah, Charlie was, wasn't he? That's right. I forgot.
Charlie was as a kid. And in the village where I grew up, there was a lay preacher in the 1950s at the church, and he'd come from the Plymouth Brethren.
Wow.
And he raped my dad when he was a choir boy. And
incredible how it's so out there.
And he set up his own church called the Jesus Fellowship, which became the Jesus Army. And this thing grew up around me. So I grew up.
This was your father who set that up, or the priest?
No. My father got raped by the guy that set it up.
Okay, got it. Okay.
I didn't know he'd been raped until after he died. He told his story to me when I was a kid is that this guy tried to fiddle with him and he punched him in the bollocks and ran away. But I found out after he died, that wasn't the true story. Anyway, so that was a weird synchronicity. That was a weird synchronicity. Another weird synchronicity was Charlie was talking about these $1 trillion bonds. Now, again, weird synchronicities. I've been following the story about the $1 trillion bonds that would belong to the Dragon family. Since 2012, I've been following this story through Benjamin Fulford. Yeah. And I moved to Morocco in North Africa, in Marrakesh, in 2014 with my wife and 5 children. And one of the things we did as soon as we got there is we started setting up a school, because I had to get out of the UK. It was like a prison then. God, you know, it's not like 15-minute cities now. It's terrible now. But back then, I could feel the walls closing in, and my wife said, "Let's move to Morocco." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, let's go." And I was at a neighbor's house who we were discussing setting up the school, having a few drinks, and I started telling them the story about the Dragon family and the bonds. And he's a French guy with no hair, and he just looked at me and he said, "You are joking." And I went, "No, I'm not joking. This is serious. I think this is real. I think this is really happening." He said, "No, you do not understand. I am the broker."
Oh no.
I moved in next door to the guy that was brokering.
Wow.
And I spent the next 2 years listening in on these meetings.
That's amazing.
About Ben Bernanke flying down to Buenos Aires to ratify the bonds were real, and then the bonds going over to Bundesbank, and then them just being on the verge of being cashed in, and somebody in Bundesbank stole the money and disappeared. And so I had all this crazy life experience. So that's all part of this story that we're living through now, which of course I didn't realize at the time, because you don't piece it all together. You don't think that your story is worth anything, but it actually, my story is nuts. So when I started, I had 2 realizations on YouTube when I started doing it. And this is what I said to Charlie. I said, I ended up telling the story of my first memory. My earliest memory was demons trying to recruit me.
I remember hearing that. That's amazing that you even know that.
Yeah, but it just came out of my mouth. Right? I told the story.
You're meant to open it up to the world to say,
it
happens when you're a child too.
Well, this is the crazy thing, because I came off the show and I was like, oh my God, I'm ruined. I've just been on YouTube talking about demons.
Right. And
And I
no,
really
you
thought,
probably were the opposite, right?
well, that's the thing. I started getting all these, I got loads of more new subscribers, and then I got all these emails from people saying, that same thing happened to me.
Yeah,
And then it
I think
started,
to me too, to tell you the truth, because I used to have a gorilla dream over and over and over, this gorilla chasing me. And it was every night I would have that dream. It had to be something. I didn't know how to put words to it, but you saying that totally connects for me.
well, it was physical. It wasn't just a dream. And I
Oh,
remember,
yours was physical. Okay.
yeah, because I remember there was a thing called the miners' strike in 1973 in England. Our satanic paedophilic prime minister, Edward Heath, had created this. I understand now what he was doing. Created this terrible time in the UK of massive shocking economic mess, in order to get the UK into the giant paedophile ring that is now known as the EU. So I look back on anyway. So we had
Is it going to be a lot this audience is learning, possibly, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. It's your journey. It's your journey. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we had a thing called the 3-day week. So there was only electricity on for 3 days a week. So for 4 days, so for 4 days a week, I was a little boy going to bed, scared of the dark. And my mum came in and she had these little tea light candles and put it next to my bed here, on my bed, on
That's incredible.
on the little table next to my bed.
Yeah.
So the bed's here, and the tables, the candles here, and there's a wall here, and there's another wall over there. So if I sat up in the bed, the shadow of me was on this wall here. But as I sat up, there was another shadow on that wall over there.
Oh, wow.
Like shadows are kind of fuzzy in the edge. This one wasn't. This one was perfectly sharp. And it was the same size and shape as me, but it had 2 horns on.
Oh.
And I was doing this. I was there, going, what's going on? I didn't understand it because I was like 4 years old. So it was, lots of weird stuff like that happened to me as a kid.
So how did you get through that?
Well, I just kept telling them to go away.
Good for you.
Because I've been tested like this all through my life. I remember when this lawyer sat down with me and told me about somebody slagging her off, really powerful lawyer, involved in huge paedophile cases against the Catholic Church. Oops, shouldn't say that.
Well, there's lots of things that are coming out in the world, and if it's meant to come out, it's meant to come out. I mean,
Well, this one,
disclosure this year. That's what they say.
Yeah. Well, this one asked me if she should get somebody killed over lunch.
Oh dear.
And I went, what? Yeah. Why should? And I was like, what? So I've been tested like that. Well, I was in the Royal Air Force, RAF, right? And I left before I finished training, and I was training to be a pilot, and I got the highest score they'd given in 22 years. I was good, and I would have been fast jet pilot. But I remember going to St. James's Palace to get an award. I got an award off Prince Philip, Queen's husband.
Yeah.
Okay? And I mean, talk about meant to be. It's just like I actually met the guy, and I can still feel his handshake. But he was looking at me, and he didn't recognize my uniform. And he was shaking my hand like this, and he was going, "I see you've joined the Royal Air Force." Somebody had to whisper it in his ear. And I looked at him like this. What? You're the boss. You're the
right.
You're the commander in chief. You're always wearing this uniform. How do you not recognize it? Anyway, he gave me a really dirty look, whipped his hand away and moved on. And
so he knew you recognized he didn't know what he was doing there.
Well, he was probably high on adrenochrome. That's underneath those palaces in London.
Yes.
He'd probably just come up from the dungeon. And I know there were dungeons there because I've done a lot of missions where I got recruited by this team of spiritual warriors, and I was constantly being sent into remote viewing and sent in. We had a mission underneath Buckingham Palace once, and I saw the altar and all of this nasty stuff. So that was a few years ago.
There's a lot we're rising from. A lot we're rising from. And that's the heavy dark. And I always I keep looking at them and going, okay, someone had to bring us the dark so we could rise in the light. That's how I look at it, because if we don't, you kind of have to, you don't have to know those levels if you don't choose to. Like someone said, like one of my speakers said, he calls that the white noise. It's a distraction. They're distracting you because then it pulls you over to this this level that you can go down that rabbit hole and go, oh, wow, what's that all about? Because some people just think it's interesting and cool, but it's not. But also we're here to bring the light, which is to rise above this. Like, okay, we see this is what's happening. This is not who we're meant to be. We don't choose this path, but they're showing you there are ways you can go. We have a choice. This is our free will coming in here now, right? This is our free will coming in saying we have a choice to go that level or go, what's the next level you'd rather go? Where would you rather go? This is our free will putting into play here. So we have a choice. So what, you made a choice. You made a choice.
Yeah. Yeah, very much. I mean, I volunteered to come here.
Right. So,
You know, and that's one of my messages to everybody watching is that learning who you really are is, and we're all equal, by the way, but going and learning as much as you can about yourself, and that's one of the things that's been amazing about doing the YouTube channel is that all the incredible people that have come on, and people have told me all sorts of crazy stuff about who I am.
I've heard them. I've heard a lot of them.
And I take it all with a pinch of salt.
Exactly.
But there is a picture forming, and I'm starting to understand who I really am, and I don't, you know, but I don't go around shouting about it because you got to, you know, God got rid of my ego 4 years ago when I nearly killed myself. That was, I'm confident, yeah, but I'm not egotistical, and I'm forthright, but I'm also very humble, and you know, and this is the way you know, I've still got. If you ask my ex-wife, I'm just an idiot.
Well, you're the court jester.
No, I mean,
you're the cosmic court jester.
No, I don't think she'd agree to that either. She'd just say I was.
Probably wouldn't, but you know, it's different when you're going through things. Plus, you were waking up. You were moving into your higher consciousness. So you said you got your higher self downloaded to you. When did this all happen? Because I know you connect to your higher self, and how did this happen? Can you tell us?
It kind of, it was always happening, I think.
Yeah.
When I look back, but when it got really physical, well, it was amazing. I was in a nightclub in Marrakesh in 2017, I think. And there was this band on, and I just started dancing and it was like this. I could feel this spirit moving through me, and I was dancing like a loot. I like dancing anyway, but yeah, I'd never danced like this, and nobody else was dancing. It was just me, right?
That's great.
And I couldn't stop, and it was amazing. But it freaked me out a bit. And when I got back to Ireland, I went to see this energy healer called Tom, who's really famous here, and he did this healing on me. And I said, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, and I explained what happened, and I said, "Have I been demonically possessed?" And he went, "No, that was your higher self, you idiot."
Well, you know, it's good to know the difference. It's important to know that because you have to ask that question. I think it's important to ask.
Yeah, because I'd never experienced anything like it, and it was really physical. And then that kind of unlocked this kind of gateway, and I get it. I'm just, everything I do is driven by this. I mean, it's exhausting. The last 3 years has been exhausting, and I'm not looking for sympathy.
But you're kind of driven. You're kind of driven, aren't you? You're driven to bring all this information through because you feel you've been awakened to such an extent that you see the possibility of where humanity can be. And you're trying to rise us. You really are trying to raise the consciousness, and you really are bringing all levels of information to people, like you just shared here. Some of it may be hard for people to handle. If you can't handle, let it go. Go to another level. You know, go to your level. I mean, what's meant to come through, I just, you know, it's meant to come through. So, you know, so for you, you're on this amazing path. You do have to take care of yourself though, because you do have a lot to bring. So
yeah, I know. Yada yada yada.
You have a human design. Do you know what you are in human design? Have you ever looked that up?
Yeah, just very nice.
Well, you are that too. And you know, as a poet, how do your poems come through? I mean, your poems are gorgeous.
Thank you. Can we share a few as well?
Yes, I would love that. Oh my goodness.
Well, yeah, I was going to talk about this because again, there's these moments in life, and I'd always written poetry. I was published as a poet 30 years ago. I set up a group called the Live Poet Society that toured, that ended up with me going into stand-up comedy for a bit. And
are you kidding? That's how that started? Oh, how interesting.
Yeah, and and then marriage kind of killed the poetry. And then I'd end up writing poems when people died, or, you know, for stuff like that. And they were good. And I was like, so when this happened, my mother was a cleaner for the lady of the manor house in our village. And I used to go round after school to wait for my mum. And the old lady, Mrs. Haygate, she was an amazing woman. She had a big Daimler, she had silverware everywhere, and pictures of her flying biplanes in the 1920s in silver. You know, she was like Agatha Christie. She was brilliant. She taught me where the knives and forks should go, because obviously I was a working class boy, I had no idea. And then one day she gave me this piece of paper inside of like a plastic filing envelope. And I pulled it out, and it was "If" by Rudyard Kipling. And she told me about this poem, and that poem has been on my wall in my house for, I don't know, 40 years, and it saved my life numerous times. And when this happened, I got told, I was stood there in the kitchen middle of 2020, and I got told, I was looking at the poem "If," and I got told, you need to rewrite it. And I went, I can't rewrite Rudyard Kipling. Anyway, within 48 hours, we'd rewritten it, filmed it, and put it up on the internet. And I'll just dig it out now.
It is gorgeous. I mean, yeah.
It was all
I don't know the poem specifically myself. I know who Rudyard Kipling is, but I don't know the poem. I was never a poet, but I love that you are, and you have that gift. And she just lit the fire in you when she showed you that poem, didn't she?
She did, yeah.
I love it.
Here we go. I'll play it for you.
If you can keep your head when all about you are wearing masks and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when your neighbors doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait for the lockdown to be over, or stop believing in government lies, don't deal in lies, or being hated for posting truth on Facebook, and use your intuition to get wise. If you can dream the golden age to come here faster, if you can think for yourself but not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with Trump and avoid disaster, and treat those two just the same. If you can bear to be called a conspiracy theorist, a CIA term to make a trap for fools, or watch long-held beliefs become absurdist and build them up with worn-out tools. If you can make one heap from all your crypto and get some gold and not give a toss, and lose your debts and start a new beginning and never breathe a word about it to your boss. If you can force your nerves and courage to speak your voice when it seems they're gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the strength to face the dawn. If you can talk on YouTube and keep your virtue, or speak your truth without losing the common touch, if neither trolls nor loving friends will hurt you, if all followers count with you but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minutes with 60 seconds worth of meditation in 5D, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a multi-dimensional being. You'll see.
That was beautiful. I love that. The ending, you'll be a multi-dimensional being. That is so true. So true.
That's what it's all about.
It is. I mean, you said it there. It's so beautiful. Yeah, that's a beautiful.
Sorry. Yeah, well, this is the thing. That is what it's all about. It's about our children. It's all of God's children. And when you understand that 22,000 children every single day over the last 80 years at least have been taken by these monsters, then it's time to get a little bit of indignation and a bit of anger and use that energy in the best way that you direct it in the best way that you can. So I was there thinking, am I here to wake people up? Because the interesting thing was there were people like Charlie Ward and Nicholas Van who were doing their stuff at the time.
Yep.
But they were coming across this information like it was brand new, but I knew most of it for 20 years, and I think I had a different job. And I realized that my job was to really just inspire people to keep them chipper. And I didn't realize how much I'd done that until I toured America last year, and people were coming up to me saying, "You have no idea," because it was a very isolating time.
I know. I went to one of those tours and met you in person.
Yeah.
Gave you the bag of Halloween candy.
Thank you.
And you said, "What is this?"
I mean, but it was just incredible to be able to use this tool of the internet against the bad guys. And to be smart about it, because I'd been doing the channel for 4 or 5 months, and at Christmas that year I sat down and go, why am I doing this? And I'm getting so many emails. It was crippling me. I was trying, because at the beginning I was trying to answer every comment and reply to every email.
Of course you would, Mark.
It's like 20 hours a day, and it's like,
no, that you would, because you have a big heart, Mark. That is your heart.
But it was killing me, and I couldn't keep up. And I did get some.
Yes.
I did get some help, but it's still very hard not to reply to somebody if they write to you.
Okay. And talk to them on YouTube and just say thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I just didn't want to upset anybody, But anyway, I sort of developed into it, and the more poetry came out, and the poems just came out. I mean, it's just extraordinary, because the poems themselves came from God. Every one of them. I mean, I'd have to pull over the car. I'd have to stop what I was doing immediately and just get it out. And I knew that they were a bit ahead of their time. This is what's funny about it. Because I wrote poems like "The Best Is Yet to Come" and "We See You."
Really?
So we see you.
That too? I love it.
Which one?
Oh, both of them. "We See You." That one is incredible. Yeah.
Well, "We See You" has been seen by millions of people.
Yes.
Literally millions of people, which is extraordinary. And most people have no idea it's me that wrote it. And last week it was read out by Ricardo Bosi, the leader of Australia.
From Australia, yeah. He's a beautiful man.
And it was read out at a satanic ritual abuse rally a year ago, and it was played on the big screen. And it's like, wow. And that poem is, I mean, I'm going to share a few poems if I go.
No, I don't mind at all. I'm fine. You can, as long as you have. Yes, I think everyone would love to hear this.
We're good for time. No, the reason I'm being called to share these with you now is because that's what I wrote them for. Yes. That's what they're for. People
need to be aware that your heart. This is where your heart really is. This is who you truly are, Mark. This is what you're meant to bring through.
Yeah, and this one is. And what I say to people is, these poems are codes. They're not just.
They're activations, they're codes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
They are, yeah. And this one is, what I'd say to people is, if there's any, I try to put the words on the screen. If there's any words that you don't understand, or you're like, what does that mean? Go and look it up. Use the poems, because this particular poem in 2 minutes explains what could take 20 hours to explain. So it's true. That's what I loved about them, the simplicity and the ease that you bring it through. Yeah, this is "We See You."
We see you. The scales have fallen from our eyes. The veil has drifted down from the sky, meandering firmly, finally revealing your depth of depravity. That's fear you're now feeling. We see you. Your demonic bloodlust laid bare to see. The statue of filth on the BBC. The prince and the madam. The crisper spy. The islands of horrors in the ocean lie. We see you. 1 billion souls stolen over the years. You hid them deep down to drown their tears. Perfect and innocent, God's own creations, mutilated by your sick machinations. We see you. Vlad the Impaler and his vile descendants, fleeing the palace from the 5D ascendants. The virus distracted, but gave us the time to peel back the layers of your heinous crimes. We see you. Run, run as fast as you can. Back for more orders from the Phoenician clan. Out of White Rabbit, the looking glass cracked. Tipping point reached. Odds against you now stacked. We see you. Pizza and hot dogs, pasta and sauce. Your sickness decoded your lack of remorse. Our slumber is over, our eyes not wide shut. For the children of Haiti, a knife to your gut. We see you. Ascension is powered by the light of the flare. Scramble like rats to the ruins of your lairs. It's over, it's over. Save our children, we cry. Revealed, reviled. It's your soul's time to die. We see you.
Whew.
Yeah, it still does that to me.
Yeah, it's powerful. I mean, it's bringing out everything. Well, if people have gone down those rabbit holes, it's bringing out everything that we were not, a lot of people didn't know. I mean, I didn't know the level of it at the time. And when, I mean, I did, once I started, you know, once COVID hit, then everything opened up and I was going down it all. But a friend of mine was doing human trafficking events in like 2014 and 2015. And I kept saying, what's going on? I didn't really join it too much because I wasn't there yet. But now it's like, it's incredible. I mean, you know, all the things that we're learning, and some people may not even be aware of this. I mean, you know, you look at the milk cartons and all the stuff that used to be around. Where did these children go? Like kids would run away and then they'd never find them. Where did they go? You know, what just happened to these people? I mean, everyone just assumes certain things, but it's almost incredible to have to look at this at the way we've been shown that things are going on. And it's just it's a different world that we were never aware of, and it's hard to imagine, and still some people can't, and they don't want to, and they don't have to. Like I've learned about, you know, crystal and souls, they're too sensitive, they can't always take this, so you have to allow them to say, I can't, I don't want to go there, and that's okay, because they're not meant to. The indigos, we're the ones who like to go down the rabbit holes a lot. And you're probably an indigo because you're an early, are you an indigo or you're a crystal? Do you know? Well, you're not a crystal, or are you? No.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're an indigo because you're an early foreshadower. I mean, that's one of the early, you know, star children that came through to bring this information out. The path makers, the path showers, the way, you know, the way showers. You're a way shower. And
well, yeah, I had this argument all the time. I've been actually talking about this stuff on social media, just not YouTube, for about 10 years, and I kept getting told off. And I got kicked out of loads of parties, and you know, so I had some pretty famous
very hard to share. A lot of people I know don't want to, you know, and it's going to be hard for anyone listening to hear it here, because if you're not aware, it's okay. Just send love and blessings to all these beings that are doing this, because we don't want to send them negativity. We want to send them light, because they don't enjoy it, and it keeps them moving out, keeps them away. So we just send them light. And
yeah,
negativity is not where it's going to get us anywhere. It's going to get us, we want to stay into the, and that's not spiritual bypassing. It's just trying to work with knowing, you know, they had to bring through something. This is how I look at it. This is how I kind of, you know, look at my way, is just to understand there has to be dark to see the light in the 3D dimension. As we get higher, I've heard someone say that isn't necessarily true, but I don't know any other way to understand it. So that for me is my way of understanding it. What do you think? What's your way?
Well, I was always very adamant that in order to go through this spiritual process, as many people as possible who could cope with it needed to be aware of what the enemy was and what the enemy had done.
Yeah.
And I also had a very strong drive to, like, that one is really a very powerful statement to them from God, from
Very
us
much. Yes.
collectively. Because, you know, the other thing that people need to understand, and I would hear people saying humans are very powerful, and I'd be like, what, are we really? We're all flesh and blood. We're not that
Right,
powerful.
right. We hear that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, but we are.
Yes, I do agree. We are. Yes.
We are,
And we're
because
learning to step into it.
that's the thing. That's why it's taken so long.
And
It's a
we've
big-
also been distracted from it. We've been totally distracted with all these other things. And this is also someone, you could also call this other thing going on, this darkness, a distraction.
It
Because
is.
it's like, ooh, we love drama. We love, people like to see sadness sometimes because it makes their life look better. I don't know. That's the only way I could describe it. But yet, we're not there anymore. I think most of us have gone so past that. That's like the very old 3D way of looking at things. And we're so ahead of that now. When you say, I'm using numbers only because that's the only way we can describe it as linear thinkers, and that we're moving out of that. I mean, it's even hard to say it anymore, but we're past it. I mean, we're moving into where we want to go. That's why we're showing it. I don't love seeing it, but I know it's there. And it's important. You feel it, you grieve it. It's like a death. It's like learning to let that part of the 3D reality die. Let it go, and grieve it. And we got to move forward into the light.
Yeah, and it does take some time to acclimatize to that. I mean, I got a message to write a book in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
So I got this download outside the back of my house, and I was like, okay. And I was told to write a book called Life is Easy.
Okay. I know.
I know. And because I was teaching manifesting and stuff at this time, and I'd gotten into all of that stuff, and I'm a master manifestor, always have been. And I remember I did my normal thing. I put up a website. I made all these memes. I put it out there. I ended up not writing that book because somebody wrote one comment. And I went, oh, I can't write this book. And they were like, oh, yeah, your life is easy. Try telling that to the people in the Congo, who've just been massacred or whatever.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm not spiritually capable of really answering that question at the moment.
Right.
I knew I wasn't capable of answering the question, so I paused it. But back then, I remember making memes then saying, let go. And, and I thought I was pretty smart, but I didn't have a clue. And when I was going through the suicidal patch, that message came through so clear. Mark, you have to let everything go. And I'd be like, everything?
Mm.
And I get, yeah, everything. I'd be like, including my kids? Yes, including your kids. And I was like, whoa. And, so I had to really, really soak that up, because what I've learned is that we have to be prepared to let everything go.
Yes.
In order for things to be able to come back to us in the right way. And this is why so many relationships broke down during the last 3 years.
Yes.
People started to realize, well, why am I with this person? I'm not actually, that's why the lockdown was a good thing,
I know. A lot of
people
spend
time together with their partners.
More than they ever had, probably. Yes.
Yeah. It was a good process for everybody, actually.
It was part of us finding our truth. It was a part of finding our truth. I mean, it really, it stopped everything. I mean, I think people breathe. I actually enjoyed the quiet. It was so nice to be quiet and to pull out of all the crazy going on, because I've been, I've been into like cosmic disclosure and all those kinds of things from like I've been in the spiritual work since 1999. So it's been quite a while, this journey. And, but learning this part of it, like this darker part, was newer. That was nothing on my radar until, more recently. And I was just amazed. And it was a grievance. I remember it took me probably a month to get over that whole understanding or even awareness that this could possibly be going on by people, human beings that, why would that happen?
Well,
But we
not
know
human.
lots of reasons why now. We know this is
They're
how
not human.
people, it's a religion. It's another kind of religion, which is sad and true, but they're brought up in it. They think this is okay, this is right, and this is part of it, but it's a hard thing to, be aware of. But now we're rising past that. So we're accepting it. Like you said, we're letting go of that. You can let go of that as well. And because the what's going to come back to us, because we're kind of forgiving, well, I'm looking at it as forgiveness and allowing them to move into whatever way they need to move. And we're moving forward. We're not going to be held back by them.
I ran a retreat in the Sahara Desert last year.
I know. I wished I could have gone. I saw that. It was so beautiful. I saw.
We're probably going back, but
interesting.
One of the people that came, she left me a message a couple of months ago, and she's been in contact spiritually with the children in the tunnels for the last 20, 30 years. And she's had to, that's been a big thing for her to carry. And she's an amazingly powerful, amazingly powerful woman. And she left me a message saying, the children have a message for you, Mark. They want to thank you for representing the divine masculine. But the message is, you need to have compassion for the people that have done this to us, because they are the most wretched people on God's earth. And I immediately knew what she meant, because the last ayahuasca ceremony I did, it was in front of a painting that just said forgiveness, forgiveness, forgiveness. And I was there for about 4 hours, forgiveness, until it clicked inside, and this, because forgiveness is a very difficult thing to do when you're full of shame and guilt, which the system has built into us from childhood.
Exactly. Yes.
And that's why they abuse so many kids as well, because they just want to create a disruptive society of abused people that have no idea why they behave like they do, but they do, and they get
that's why power over. It's power
of course.
over. Yeah.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
We've allowed it because we were unaware of what it really was coming into, like what it really meant. Now we're aware of it. We don't accept, many of us, we don't accept it. I mean, a lot of us did not follow the rules during any of this 3 lockdowns, mandates, and all that. None of us, I mean, you had a choice, follow the rules or not. Thank you. No, thank you. So, this whole period has been a truth finding period to find who are we truly individually. Like I found myself in a whole new way. You found yourself in a whole new way.
Yeah. I mean, if you told me I'd be doing stuff like this 3 years ago, I'd have gone, what are you talking about?
Exactly. I mean, I started in 2018 doing these, and I thought, I didn't expect to ever be able to talk like this to people all over the world, especially someone like you that's out there and with a huge crowd. It's like, wow. And what you're bringing through is just so powerful and necessary. It's powerful and necessary. And
thank you. And but we're all just doing our bit. And
exactly.
As I said on the tour in the States, it's and I said earlier, nobody's above anybody else. And everybody that did say no, you're heroes, right? All of you, because you created this incredible grid of lights. That's what we did. And we were all in exactly the place we needed to be to pull this consciousness through, because this new consciousness is nothing can stop it. That's what Q means. Q is basically God, as far as I'm concerned. And
that's a good way of looking at it. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is, because, or Jesus, or that energy, it's that consciousness.
Let us say Yeshua,
whatever.
No, there's a difference. We'll talk about another time.
Yeah, but I don't get bogged down in stuff like that, because people know what I mean, and it's all about ownership of the language. This is why I get told off for swearing by so many people. But
well, that's nothing,
because it's all about intention and understanding.
Right, it's intention. Exactly.
Yeah,
that is really what it is. Yeah, I
take the point, but it is Q was consciousness reaching out to our consciousness to what? I mean, if you look at the Q posts,
bring us into
no, I don't understand what I'm saying. If you look at the posts themselves, they all teach you how to be sovereign.
Okay.
And that's what all of this is about. It's about thinking for yourself and working things out. And, and I've run courses. I got told to make a marketing course in the middle of COVID. And I was like, what, really? And I did it. And then I realized what it was about. And people going, how do you do this? I go and work it out yourself. And they're like, what? Where's the step-by-step instructions? You haven't got any. Go and work it out for yourself.
Uh,
And then some people get triggered by that, right? One woman did my course, went on YouTube and slagged me off, and I was like, wow,
well, that's her
this is fun.
journey. That's her
Yeah, well,
journey.
exactly. But the thing is, the whole thing has been designed by God to stop us ever in future being reliant upon some outside force called government to tell us how to live our lives.
Yes, let go of anything but the true, knowing that we're connected. I just believe in it as love. The source is love. Its energy is love, keeping us all together and unified. Because what is the greatest force we have in our planet?
Love.
Yeah. So what else? What's your final? What would you like to say about the Divine Human Rising? Where do you see us, and what do you see as promising?
Well, I'm glad you used the word "see" because I'm going to play this for you.
Thank you, Mark.
Because this is the partner poem to "We See You," and instead of this being God talking through us, our statement to them, this is God's statement to everybody watching this now.
Mm. Wow.
I see you twinkling in the sky, shimmering in Van Gogh's eye, sparkling as the star seed you really are. You've come so far, born onto the facsimile earth, all memories erased. Not one iota of your talents, of the children you once raised. I see you. You never felt accepted. You never felt the same. Your friends and family alien, often seemed insane. They pointed fingers at you. They laughed behind your back. Whilst you were dancing with fairies and angels, you were on a different track. I see you. You felt alone. You did your best. You smiled through all the pain. They beat you and abused you. They knew you'd come to end their reign. As winters came and summers left, the leaves fell over years. The spirit voice inside your soul grew louder through your tears. I see you. They broke you down, they tricked you, they stabbed you through the heart. They feasted on your effervescence, they relished you apart. They stole your youth, they stole your money, convinced you they were right. But every time they ripped you open, closer came their night. I see you. Like the caterpillar at the end of life, entombed inside the cocoon. The hero's journey final act, when all seems certain doom. Those belittle words of faith and belief diminish amidst the noise. Yet you hold on, you won't let go. For the battle, you are poised. I see you! Deep, deep down, you hear the cry. In remembrance, you answer, yes. The fight was laid before you. To come was yet the best. Besmirched, belittled, tossed aside, you nearly lost your way. Letting go of all beloveds, you tried your truth to say. I see you. As the veil it dissipated, as all the solids melted, the remnants left fought their way to sovereignty, once doubted. You stood your ground, you found your power, your strength became unbounded. For you are the warrior child of this world. In your brilliance, our future founded. I see you.
I'm all choked up.
That's why I put a joke at the end.
Oof.
Don't ever make me run. I've been sad. A fucking poem again. You...
That's so good, Mark. Oh my God, that's beautiful. I'm just, it says it all. You said it all right there. You said it all.
Oh, yeah. There's a
you
funny
for that.
story, actually.
What's that?
I said there's a bit of a funny story because when I originally wrote it, I read it out on YouTube, and then the cinematographer kept getting in touch with me saying, I want to make this thing with you. And I said, well, let's do this poem. And then we made it. And I always thought it was God coming through me to give a message to all the starseeds and the spiritual warriors and all the awake, just as, you know, as a sort of recognition of them and an understanding of what, you know, the life that they've had, because being like this in this life is not easy. It's not easy. So it was really about that. But when the film got edited, I played it on the computer and I stood at the back door, and then I got this massive download that basically a voice saying it was also written for you, Mark, and I just burst into tears. And it means a lot. You know, it's a very special poem to me. That
Very special. Oh, it's the most beautiful poem. It really is. I guess that would be my favorite. And we say thank you because it does help to be seen by and know that you're seen by the universe. And it's powerful. It's powerful. And you got to bring that through for us. So thank you, Mark, so much on that. So I know you gave us a free gift. So everyone who's looking and watching this show right now, there'll be all the links will be below, and Mark will have that for us. And very, very grateful that you're here to share your amazing journey and everything that you brought through for us today, Mark, is just, it's been a very powerful journey, and your heart is so big. I know that, in being who you are. So anything else you want to say?
Well, God wins.
Absolutely. God wins. And all I can say is, as we raise our heart's frequency, we know that we are nourished with the love of the universe. Absolutely. So
100%.
Thank you again, Mark. You are amazing, and your work is just so powerful, and we're so grateful. Take care of yourself as well. That's my other message. I mean, I'm a mother energy. What can I say?
She knows I'm not very good at taking care of myself. That's why
I know. I could tell right away. And, so I'm Yarra Atlantica Miller, Janet Miller, and we're so grateful that you were here today. And I hope that you look at this message and take it from your heart, because Mark has given this to us from his heart so much. I know you can feel it, because I can feel it. And we thank you, and we'll see you on the next episode.
God bless.